Thanks to the support as a channel member, Russ Eddy. Well, here we go then, folks. It is the World Cup knockout rounds. Goodness me, there's a lot of World Cup knockout rounds in the future. Operation Don't Balls Up starts here. And welcome to part 2 of my non-Lethal Legend World Cup special. Coming up today, we've got Nigeria in the World Cup second round. After the second round, there's then a round of 16, then a quarter-final, semi-final, and then finals. So what a kerfuffle the World Cup is. We're going to try and get through. I mean, are we working on the assumption we're going to win this World Cup? Is that a dangerous thing to assume? Should we try and do 3 rounds today? I mean, we've got to be pretty confident we're going to win them. We'll see how it goes. If we're 6-0 up at half time, we'll skip to the next round. The next round we already know will face Austria. That part of the draw is already out. The winners of this match face Austria. In fact, the whole draw is kind of shaping up. So we know if we get past Nigeria and then Austria, we face Sweden or Brazil in the we'll do the quarterfinal on Monday. So the journey probably ends there because Brazil quite good at football. Thomas Tuchel is the Brazil manager. And their key player is my boy Hendrick. All very interesting stuff. Right, let's play Nigeria. This is the team. Our last group game, by the way, should probably show you that. We won 6-0. We heavily rotated. As you can see, Mikey Moore got a couple of goals for us. Heavy rotation. Nigeria have come through a group. If we can show you Group L, just the one victory over Canada. They came through in... This is a joke. There's, 35 groups, and there's still third-place teams that make it into this stupid knockout round. So, yeah, they've managed to win just one game. They lost to New Zealand, and are still in the knockout rounds of the World Cup. That, boys and girls, says it all. We should win this one comfortably. If we don't, I'm fired. Well, I'll resign. I'm resigning at the end of the tournament anyway, but still, who wants Joe Ireland? I mean, it's not really my problem anymore, but if he goes to Paris Saint-Germain, I'll be a little bit upset that everything I built is being ripped apart. It's Haseldin in goal, a back four of Preen, Thomas, Burrows and Gibbons, Hinshelwood, Pilbro and Ireland in midfield, then Lacey and Saka out wide with Ranieri up front. Let's go beat Nigeria, shall we? I'm still not completely sold on this front three. When we played in the Nations League last summer, I think we still had Phil Foden around, didn't we? And he's 35. I don't regret not bringing a 35-year-old Phil Foden. Let's face it, a 25-year-old won't much use in real life for England, is he? Just making sure the Manchester City fans are awake. But all the same, I don't know if Shea Lacey is the answer. I think the main problem is the lack of a recognised striker, and I'm hoping Ethan Ranieri can grab a goal for us today and make me worry less about that. Joe Ireland has done the goal that we wanted, but he has picked up a knock doing it. And with games coming thick and fast at the World Cup, I am now thinking, we've got Jude Bellingham sat there on the bench. Do we bring him on for Ireland 6 minutes in? I mean, he's done his goal. He's done his bit. He's burst out of midfield, scored a header because he's a big, strong boy. We should probably be playing Ireland up front. But, I mean, if we score again here, Ireland's coming off. That is a lovely long throw from Burrows. How did I not know he had that in his repertoire? I've spent 5 years, because we had him at Coventry. I've spent 5 years aiming at him with the long throws, not knowing he could take them himself. Right, Pilbro. That is a poor pass from Pilbro and has let Nigeria in for a counter-attack, and we need to deal with them, and we have dealt with them quite comfortably. And Saka completes the clear. I say completes the clearance. He's just giving it straight to the opposition. Ireland is there again. He's up for it today. England captain for the day with Bellingham not starting, and he's had a lively start. He's the only one really who's had a lively start. Everyone else looks like they're not really up for it. Although Gibbons, with his head on upside down, good work from him there. And Saka, lovely ball into Ranieri, and he's not able to apply the finish. And once again, there's that lack of having a proper striker. Right, apparently Ireland's a pulled hamstring. We cannot be having pulled hamstrings knocking about the place. We're going to bring on Jude Bellingham. And, yeah, that's not ideal because a pulled hamstring means Ireland's out for the tournament. And we've seen today just how important he is to the way this team plays. He's been the best player on the pitch. And now Bellingham and Pilbro need to step up. And Bellingham slots it through to Ranieri, who cannons it off the crossbar this time. He's already had a couple of good chances and missed them both. I think you can hear me talking about him, that he's not a striker. Right, Burrows finds Thomas with the long throw this time. It's back with Shea Lacey. Wanyeri's unmarked on the edge of the area. I mean, he's got a goal. It's not a striker's goal, is it? He could have done that just as easily playing as the number 10 or playing in midfield. But he's scored a goal, and that is what you little number rascals judge strikers on. So who am I to argue? He'll probably get a hat-trick today, and everyone will be telling me that he was a striker all along. But good work from Lacey. Lovely effort from the edge of the area from Wanyeri, and it's 2-0. 25 minutes in, and jolly good. We're looking very solid. Saka's tucked inside a long way there. I mean, he gets away with it because Gibbons seems really, it's like Gibbons has got a point to prove from me never really giving him a proper chance at Manchester United, and he is playing like a man possessed. I mean, Saka, lovely run for him. I don't know why he's brought that back onto his standing foot rather than his kicking foot. And he's just kind of played it over the crossbar after a lovely run. There was no reason to make things more difficult for himself. That's what he's done there. But we're cruising. Nigeria have had one shot and missed. We're 2-0 up, looking very comfortable. We've not really made it out of, I would say, we've not made it out of second gear. And we're looking pretty comfortable. And I think one more goal and we start thinking in terms of resting, rotating, keeping players ready for the next round, and we can probably make a couple of changes at half time here because Shea Lacey, Champions League winner Shea Lacey, has just got the third for us, and he's another one who was never really fully established at Man United. We sold him to Real Madrid. He did then win the Champions League against us. Oh, we sold him to Real Madrid. That's what, did I say we sold him to Man United? You know what I mean. Is Burrows going to grab number 4? He can't keep his header down. Burrows might be one of the players who comes off at halftime. We're going to make a couple of changes, I think. I want to keep Wanyeri on because I want to force goals into him. I want him to convince me he's a striker, but we need to look in terms of players who are going to be starting throughout the tournament. I think Saka is one of them. So I think we bring Mikey Moore on for Saka. He prefers to be on the left, so if we get him over there, make him an inside forward on the left, Lacey can go over go to his preferred right hand side, and then I think I am going to take off Levi Burrows as well, just because he's our only properly experienced, established international level centre back. We don't need him today, so let's not risk him getting injured or picking up a yellow card. Pilbro in midfield, plays it into Lacey, and now Gibbons bursts past his marker, but once again, we don't have a centre forward in the middle. Jude Bellingham's there doing the Joe Ireland role, coming forward out of midfield, having more of a physical presence than the guy we've got up front. And maybe we don't need an out-and-out striker if we're going to have big boys who are good in the air bursting out of midfield the way we have in this match, because both Ireland and Bellingham have done that very effectively, scored very similar goals. We're now 4-0 up and looking very good for our meeting with Austria. And it's like 3 or 4 days. That's why I'm really trying to manage the fitness levels of the players. If you've seen me manage in international football in FM before, you know my biggest frustration is the fact that you can't rest players between matches. You can't get involved in training. Your players just get more and more and more tired as the tournament goes on. And I know it doesn't just affect me as the player, because if you look at the 11s that the AI puts out, they get weird as the tournament goes on because they don't know to rotate. They just drop the stars for the final because they're not fit enough to play and weird stuff like that. So I'm trying to keep my best players fit so that we can I'm going to really try and use the squad and manage minutes of the better players. I mean, really, we probably shouldn't have brought Bellingham on when we were clearly going to win the game. Bellingham's one of our senior players, and unless we take him off again, he's going to end up doing 75 minutes, which as a 33-year-old or whatever he probably doesn't need to be doing 75 minutes against Nigeria when we're 4-0 up. So we might actually take Bellingham off on like 65, 70 minutes. I don't think it will cause too much in the way of morale problems, but we just don't need to risk him. Lacey's nearly got himself another one there. There doesn't seem to be anybody obviously tiring, so I think we can probably afford to make a luxury substitution and rest Bellingham. Lacey with the in-swinger. Dalrymple's there, and that's number 5. And Malik Dalrymple scoring a Levi Burrows goal. Is that his first goal for England? It must be. He's barely played any matches. It's a good goal from him as well. And after a little bit of a slow start to the tournament, we got all those goals in the final group game, and now we seem to be finding our stride. And this is the match where we're sending more of a message to the rest of the tournament. I know Nigeria had a particularly poor group stage and are lucky to be in this stage of the tournament. It's not a very good Nigeria side, but it's still a World Cup knockout round game. So to score 5 goals, that's impressive. Whoever you do it against, they've done a goal. We don't care. We're gonna make some changes, and we're gonna take off Bellingham, and we'll bring on Marco Littlefair, and Pilbro can be the more attacking of the two in midfield, and then I think we will take off Ranieri, who is, I mean, as much as I keep moaning about him, he is our only international consistent goal scorer. I mean, he's got over 40 international goals. We don't have anyone else in the squad who's posted anywhere near those numbers over his career. So we probably need to be a little bit careful with him. At his age, I mean, he's 28 now with 70 England caps. He probably doesn't need to be proving himself and establishing himself the way I seem to be asking him to be. He's clearly going to be our first choice striker all tournament long if he's fit. Now is not the time to try and find somebody who can fit the role better. We just have to work with what we've got, and what we've got is not really an out-and-out number 9. And which you could argue has been England's problem in real life for years as well, because Harry Kane doesn't really play like that for England, does he? Although he scores a gazillion goals for Bayern Munich. I mean, obviously, I don't watch German football, so I have no idea how he plays for Bayern, but he seems to always score goals for him. So maybe there is a magic way to get him to play as a striker that we just haven't figured out with England. Right, Lacey trying to score a screamer for number 6. It's very wild, goes very high and very wide. But we're cruising towards the end of this match now, and I'm looking through their team, seeing if I recognise any of the players. Was Gozzi a player I had at Coventry? That's a name that looks familiar. Erogbanum, I feel like I had him somewhere. I can't remember whether these players were from this save or previous saves, but they're definitely players I've had. But that's a comfortable win. Austria is in. Oh, we've actually got 7 days until the Austria game. I guess that's the advantage of there being so many knockout rounds. We get a little bit of a rest for a week now, and Joe Ireland, who did pull his hamstring, going to be out between 7 days and 2 weeks, 12 days. So he's probably going to miss Austria, but assuming we get past Austria, which we should have Ireland back for the quarterfinal against what is likely to be Brazil. If we have a look at Austria's route to this round, I mean, they've done very well in their group. They've won their group. It wasn't the most challenging of groups with China, Sweden and Ivory Coast, but they've won 4 consecutive matches, which is the same record as us, and we're very convincing against Chile in the second round as well. So Austria is not going to be an easy game, and we've got to do it without arguably our best player in Joe Ireland. Being able to bring Jude Bellingham in for him is a nice luxury to have, though. Having said that, we are rotating a little bit because we are going to be facing Brazil in the quarterfinal, assuming we get there, and we need to keep some of our stars fresh. So Ireland, Ranieri, Saka, Hinchelwood, Thomas, all going to be sitting this one out, and we're bringing in a few other. I mean, Bellingham's one of the ones coming in. We're not missing out on too much. Mikey Moore has got a couple of goals in his only start in this World Cup so far, so he's not a bad option for us to have up front. I'm still pretty confident in this team, and as you saw in the last game, we'll obviously not be afraid to make changes as the game goes on. So again, it's Haseldin in goal, a back four of Howell, Burrows, Young and Gibbons, Littlefair behind Pilbro and Bellingham, then Preen moving forward to the left wing, with Lacey on the right and Moore up front. Brazil beat Sweden 2-1 in their, what is this, round of 16 game. So they're not mega convincing, but they are still Brazil. So obviously we want to we're taking it one game at a time. We've got to deal with Austria first, who have proven to be a good side at this World Cup, but we've obviously got to have one eye on Brazil because we won't get another week-long break between this game and that one. So It's a gamble, but it's the kind of gamble you have to take in tournament football, boys and girls. I imagine the English media are going to have a field day with me, probably already all over Twitter, loving this starting 11, the fact that I'm resting so many players and not showing any respect to Austria and all those usual things. But in reality, I could play the first team and give everybody a day off tomorrow playing on their PlayStations, but that's not how it works. I think Football Manager, I think as far as Football Manager is concerned, between now and the Brazil game, they're all going to go back and train with their clubs and then they just fly in on the morning. That certainly seems to be how that's the amount of impact I'm able to have. Right, Lacey from range. I mean, we saw him try that a couple of times in the last game. He's determined to be a star at this World Cup, but he's just missing a lot of long range efforts, which isn't ideal. On the topic of stars at this World Cup, remember there's the Italian striker I signed at Manchester United and then barely used. He's the top scorer in the tournament and favourite to win player of the tournament at the moment. So it looks like Manchester United have the best striker in the world ready to go. You're welcome, whoever's taking over at United. I haven't actually looked to see if they've got a new manager yet. That's the sort of thing we'll check in on at some point. I mean, I've had a couple of people ask, we are going to do a 5 years in the future video as well next week. So even if we get knocked out of the World Cup here, there'll at the very least be a 5 years in the future video on Monday. Hopefully we'll be playing Brazil on Monday. And then towards the end of the week or middle of the week, we'll do whatever comes next. I have put a poll on the community page on the channel. So if you haven't voted on that yet, go and have a look at that. The two options I've put on there are do a season or two with Liverpool in this save and see if we can save Liverpool, and then see if we can take a championship Liverpool side to basically topple my incredible Manchester United side that we've put together, which is probably not the easiest of tasks. Although a lot of people have suggested I maybe do that as a one-off video, which we might do. We might do that as a one-off video next week at some point, or maybe the week after. And then the other option is a Pentagon, which we've talked about on videos before, which I am probably leaning towards doing. But if the poll really, really wants me to do a proper save with Liverpool, I am up for that. And feel free to offer your suggestions as well for other stuff you'd like to see us do next. One thing I'm not going to do is something weird that not many people will watch. Views are obviously down anyway because the game's 18 months old. So I need to do something that is going to capture people's interest and get people watching. Otherwise, the end of the series, I'll be recording it on my phone from a tent in my dad's garden, rather than, on a computer in my own house. So we do have to have a little bit of thought towards what's likely to get the most amount of people watching. And I think a Pentagon probably meets those criteria. We're not winning yet against Austria. As suspected, they are quite a good side, and they've just had a decent effort from range that Hasseldin didn't really look like he was particularly aware was happening. And they are causing us a few problems, and we might have to bring the big boys on in the second half. It's not really the kind of changes in the second half I was hoping to be making, but the likes of Saka and Ranieri and Ireland, don't get your game gears out yet. You might be called upon to actually play some football in this second half. How many of the people watching this know what a Game Gear is? Hopefully all of you. If anyone doesn't know what a Game Gear is, you should check them out. The Game Gear was great. Right, Burrows doing good work, but then giving the ball away. It's sloppy. Austria seem to want this more than us. Not as much as Alan Preen, though. Good work from him. And now Burrows to Littlefair and Pilbro. Now would be a nice time for us to grab a goal. Lacey plays it over the top to Bellingham, charging out of midfield, multiple-time Champions League winner, England captain, Jude Bellingham, puts us 1-0 up, and not a moment too soon. We needed that goal because I was starting to get a little bit twitchy. But once again, we see the lack of a centre-forward, but the most attacking central midfielder being a huge threat coming out of midfield. And the fact we've got two players do that so comfortably and so naturally in Bellingham and Ireland, and we're able to rotate them because we've got Pilbro, we've got Adam Wharton, we've got Littlefair, Hinshaw, lots of players who can cover the other midfield spots. We don't have to play Bellingham and Ireland together, at least not until we face the likes of Brazil, maybe. So we're able to keep them relatively fresh, which is super duper. Right, we'll give it to the hour mark before we start looking at fitness levels. I would really prefer a second goal before we start fiddling with that kind of thing too much, but I am looking at the XG and the match stats, and Austria aren't really offering very much going forward, so I think we can probably make a couple of changes here. Right, Preen is going to come off, not for Ireland, that's Mandis. Ryan Flynn can come on the left-hand side. He's a young Manchester City striker who's never played for Man. Oh yeah, no, to be fair, he has been playing for Manchester City. He's probably had a few words with Phil Foden, who's, I mean, the fact that he's come ahead of Foden still plays for City. He started one game for them last season, and he's England's number 9 and coming on in the World Cup. Rico Lewis is going to come on at right back, and Bellingham is going to come off. We're not going to bring Ireland on in these circumstances. I'm actually going to bring on Adam Wharton. He can play there, and Pilbro can move over. We've got Mainu as well, who we know can function as part of this midfield setup. So I don't really want Pilbro to do another full 90. He did the full 90 and there we go. As I'm saying it, that's probably Ricky Pilbro out for the tournament, and that would be a big loss. We're going to take him off immediately, especially because Shea Lacey has put us 2-0 up the other end. The two Manchester United youngsters bookending that highlight. Pilbro picking up the injury at the start of it, Lacey scoring the goal at the end. Pilbro hasn't moved. He's taken an Austrian player down with him, to be fair. But let's get Pilbro off. Oh, wow, we've got to... Pilbro's properly broken, isn't he? He's done. Weirdly, only one of the substitutions from before has gone through as well. Right, so we are going to bring on Mainu and Wharton because we still want to take off Bellingham, and we also still want to bring on Flynn on there. I'm actually going to shuffle this around a little bit to that, I think, based on how I've used these boys before. In fact, can Wharton play as the more attacking one? Actually, maybe we are better that way round. I'd really want Joe Ireland in this situation. If we were still only at 1-0, we'd probably bring Joe Ireland on there. But with him still carrying a knock and with Pilbro now injured as well, we don't really need to be risking Ireland at 2-0 up. So we will hopefully be able to leave him on the bench. Although if Austria score here, maybe we'll have to change our mind. I hope I've not just used my final stoppage as well. I don't know if they all count as one change because we had to redo the original ones. I don't know why only Lewis had gone through when I made them all together, but hopefully we can still make one more change, which we'll do now. Let's get our final... Yeah, we've still got 2 stoppages, in fact. Right, Shea Lacey is going to come off. Kyle Smith can come on for him. Again, no point in this situation bringing on Bukayo Saka. It's just not necessary. So we will... we've actually got 3 centre forwards on the pitch now, with 2 of them playing out wide. But we're trying to keep players fresh. Ranieri, Ireland, Saka. They could have got their game gears out at half-time after all, because it looks like we are fully engaged in cruise control. Austria had a couple of moments, but haven't really put up too much of a fight. It's been a very England-style World Cup from Austria. I imagine they were feeling pretty good with 4 consecutive wins, 4 comfortable wins. First time they played against anyone any good. They've been entirely toothless. Are you England in disguise? We, on the other hand, you could potentially argue, haven't faced anybody decent yet, and we could be about to out-England ourselves in Monday's episode when we will be facing Brazil in the quarter-final. And remember, England are reigning world champions. We're number 1 seeds in the world. Brazil are only ranked number 8 in the world. We, I imagine, would be favourites with all of that taken into account. I'm sure we don't consider us favourites because we've played Football Manager before, and I've seen England at World Cups before, and the 2 of those things combined make it very difficult for me to believe that we've got any chance against Brazil. But I guess we find out in Monday's episode, and we don't have much. This is what I mean. This is why it was so important to rest players, because we've now got Pilbro with a twisted ankle. Yeah, Pilbro's out for the rest of the tournament. 2 to 4 weeks with a twisted ankle. He's done. Ireland might not even be fully fit again by the time we get to Brazil as well. So all of a sudden, that strength in depth we had in midfield is going to start looking very important if we were to make it past Brazil. So if we make it past Brazil, our semi-final opponents will be Italy, Morocco, or Ireland. England, Ireland in a World Cup semi-final would be very interesting. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.